Hello, my friends. Anna Sabramowitz here, and I help learning experience designers design interactive learning episodes. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. All right, so today I'm going to talk about the 2 key ingredients that you need to be able to create compelling learning experiences that are engaging, contextual, awesome, and really relevant to the people you're designing them for. Now, it's funny because I had a conversation the other week with a client who basically we were just discussing the idea that technology, as far as being able to design your own interactive episode, is absolutely accessible now, and it's no longer a hurdle for us. So that's one thing that's actually pretty wonderful, and it's actually quite interesting, the fact that we now have access to this technology that probably most movie makers who are trying to create interactive movies, they don't have access to the same stuff. So it's wonderful. The tech is taken care of, and we all have access to it, which is, to me, just awesome. Now, one of the things that you may not know about me is that back in 2011, I launched a very popular and really interactive e-learning scenario called Broken Coworker. If you haven't gone through it, I suggest you Google it because it is absolutely awesome. Now, it's so awesome, in fact, that it is used all over the world in even colleges and universities and technical professional development schools to teach scenario design. What is interactive scenario design? Now, what's really funny about that is that when I first launched that scenario piece, really one of the things that it still resonates with people. People still approach me today and talk about how great it was, but I myself did not actually recognize that at the very beginning. In fact, one of the things I really struggled with was, figuring out what I should do to up that or to create experiences that were relevant. And so I thought about, at that point, launched it. It was getting rave reviews. It was working, and people were really engaging with it. But I still went back and said it couldn't be that simple, because really it is a string of pearls and single interaction over and over again. It can't be that simple. That's a fluke. And so I invented a whole bunch of other activities and pulled them from other places and modified them and made them my own. So for the next couple of years, what I did is I remember going through projects where I would actually share with my clients. I would share these giant decks of activities that we could build for them based on what they wanted. And it was, I got to tell you guys, it was absolutely horrendous. Supremely overwhelming for me and that person. I didn't know what they were going to choose, because I really did believe that because they were my client, that they had to make all the decisions on those designs and interactivities, that they would somehow know best. And the other thing I believed is that, they would know what they liked until they saw it. And of course they wouldn't. I realized this later, they wouldn't, because they're not learning experts. I am, right? And so that created some just horrendous projects where it was like we were starting from scratch. Literally, it felt like that, because I had this repository of tables of these activities and when you'd use them. So, years later, like I said, sometimes you do things and you don't realize how powerful they are, because it seems too simple, and it seems like it's, like you stumbled upon it, so it couldn't be something that would actually be replicable. But that's what happened. I had to, because these projects were so freaking painful and they took so much time, I started to have to think about, what is it exactly that made Broken Coworker? What is it that made that piece so effective? And why can't I do the same thing? Or why is every single project basically me pushing through brute force to try and make it engaging and interactive and useful for people? Why is it so painful? And I realized that there's 2 elements in there that, among other things, that really were at the base of why that activity was so powerful. And when I discovered that, I really, first of all, I was really mad at myself because of all the other times that I had basically neglected it and said it couldn't work. And then the other piece was, I felt like it was so weird that something so simple can be so effective But as long as you find the right pattern, you can actually use it over and over again, and it's compelling, and it works, and it's even like psychologically it's amazing. So just let me, I beat myself up for a while, and then I got up and said, hey, this is actually awesome. So you have to start sharing it with people, because I'm sure if I'm going through this, I don't know if you are, but if you agree with some of the ways that the projects are handled, it's really, I hate the fact that you have to guess so much. And I wanted to create something that would take that guesswork away and in some ways almost guarantee success. And why the hell would I not want to do that, right? So when you think about what makes any interactive learning episode interesting and compelling, and for people who don't even have to go through it to want to go through it several times, what is that? And I discovered what it is I want to tell you today. So there's two things there. Story and character. That's underneath, because when you look at a really well-designed interactive learning episode, the interactivity itself is quite simple, because these are the things they've realized, and I realized, that actually are the things that make you want to go through that experience yourself. So, story. And I'm like, where the heck do we get story? I'm not a story writer. Well, we don't. I've designed a system that helps you get story out of your subject matter expert and the research that you do with your case studies. So this is now a scripted system. Because baby, you don't have to do all this stuff from a basically blank page like I used to, right? I was like, what can I do to make this less painful, and using brute force to make every one of these interactions interesting, right? And then character. Now, I realized that the reason people resonate with my stuff is because I understood them. I understood my target audience, which was my colleagues, right? So that's why that resonated. So really, this comes from you understanding your target audience. Now, why this is super important is because a lot of times what I did was I only had access to like a subject matter expert who was removed from the process completely, and they were never my target audience. So it was like I was getting a secondhand version of who this person I was designing for was supposed to be. And they were certainly not my subject matter expert, right? They were somebody else. They were these different kinds of people who were definitely where the learner wanted to be, so they could aspire to be that character, but they were not always the person with the most knowledge. They were sometimes the person with the best outcome, right? So those are the two things. And it was, when I discovered that, it just like hit me in the face, and I was like, whoa, let's do this. What the hell? I've been wasting all these years and projects just suffering through it. And it wasn't just me. I mean, I'm not just solving my own problem here. I'm making everybody else go, oh, thank goodness. Okay, this isn't so freaking hard. We can actually do this, and it's actually to produce something wonderful. It's not crazy. So I hope you found this helpful and useful in just the way you think about your next interactive episode, right? How are you going to do that? Now, if this is something you want to dig into further, and you want to, get in on a real conversation about how to apply this in your project, guess what? You can actually work with me. I have a link. I'll have a link under the video so that you can look on my calendar and see if there's a time that works for you in my calendar for us to have a conversation. Because to be honest, the reason I'm asking you to have that conversation with me is I want to make sure that I can help you, because I'm only looking to work with people that I can help. And so we have a cohort starting on May 21st. And really, it's not about that particular cohort. It really is about the fact that you want to take your learner someplace, and I can help you do that. And I want to make sure that I can. So that's why the conversation. Otherwise, I hope you, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you share it with somebody who you think will actually find this helpful, who has also had probably the same struggles as me and is able to contextualize this a little bit better. And share it as much as you can so that everybody can learn from my mistakes. All right? Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day. Take care, friends. Bye.